Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. The autumn sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the suburban neighborhood. Inside a cozy two-story house, laughter and excited chatter echoed through the halls. The source of the commotion? A rather unusual dare that had taken root in the minds of 3 siblings. "Come on, Danny, it'll be hilarious," Claire insisted, her eyes sparkling with mischief. She leaned against the doorframe of her 25-year-old brother's room, arms crossed and a grin playing on her lips. Danny, sprawled on his bed with a comic book in hand, rolled his eyes. "You're out of your mind. There's no way I'm dressing up as a girl for Cousin Emily's party." Their younger, 20-year-old brother, Tom, poked his head into the room. "Oh, what's the matter? Scared you might like it." He waggled his eyebrows teasingly. "As if," Danny scoffed, tossing a pillow in Tom's direction. The younger boy ducked, cackling as he retreated down the hallway. Claire stepped further into the room, her expression softening. "Look, I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. Emily's having this exclusive birthday bash at the mall, and she's only inviting girls. Tom and I really want to go, and we thought—" "You thought you'd drag me into your harebrained scheme," Danny interrupted, sitting up and running a hand through his shaggy brown hair. "Well, yeah," Claire admitted with a shrug. "But think about it. Wouldn't it be kind of cool to see if you could actually pull it off? To see if you could pass as a girl?" Danny paused, his brow furrowing. The idea was absurd, ridiculous even. And yet, a tiny spark of curiosity ignited in the back of his mind. Could he really do it? Could he fool everyone into thinking he was just another girl at the party? "I don't know, Claire," he said slowly, his resolve beginning to waver. "It seems like a lot of work for a stupid prank." Claire's eyes lit up, sensing her brother's hesitation. "Oh, it'll be more than just a prank. It'll be an adventure. Come on, Danny. When was the last time you did something truly wild and unexpected?" Danny couldn't help but chuckle. "Probably never, if we're being honest." "Exactly," Claire exclaimed, plopping down on the bed next to him. "This is your chance to step out of your comfort zone, to see the world from a completely different perspective. Plus, imagine the stories you'll have to tell afterward." Danny bit his lip, considering. The logical part of his brain screamed that this was a terrible idea, but another part, a part he rarely listened to, whispered that it might actually be fun. "Fine," he said at last, barely believing the words coming out of his mouth. "I must be crazy, but I'll do it." Claire let out a squeal of delight, throwing her arms around her brother. "Oh, this is going to be amazing. You won't regret it, I promise." As Claire bounced off to gather supplies, Danny flopped back onto his bed, wondering what on earth he'd just agreed to. The next few hours passed in a whirlwind of activity. Claire, ever the planner, had apparently been preparing for this possibility for days. She produced a veritable treasure trove of beauty products, clothing, and accessories from her room. "First things first," she announced, brandishing a razor like a sword. "We need to take care of that stubble." Danny gulped, eyeing the razor warily. "Is this really necessary?" Claire nodded solemnly. "Trust me, little details like this can make or break the illusion. Now, hold still." With surprising gentleness, Claire guided Danny through the process of achieving a perfectly smooth face. As the last traces of stubble disappeared, Danny ran a hand over his cheek, marveling at the unfamiliar sensation. "Wow," he murmured. "That's different," Claire beamed. "And we're just getting started. Now, let's tackle that mop you call hair." What followed was a crash course in hairstyling. Claire's nimble fingers worked magic, transforming Danny's shaggy locks into a cute, feminine bob with the help of some clip-in extensions. As he stared at his reflection, Danny could hardly believe the change. "I look like Mom in her old college photos," he said, tilting his head this way and that. Claire giggled. "That's the idea. Now, on to makeup." Danny watched in fascination as Claire applied foundation, concealer, and powder, evening out his skin tone and hiding any trace of masculinity. She shaped his eyebrows, applied a subtle, smoky eye, and finished with a swipe of pale pink lip gloss. "This feels weird," Danny commented, resisting the urge to touch his face. "But it looks amazing," Claire assured him. "Now, for the piece de resistance, the outfit." From her closet, Claire produced a floral sundress, a padded bra, and a pair of strappy sandals. Danny eyed the ensemble with trepidation. "I don't know about this, Claire," he said, his voice wavering. "What if someone recognizes me?" Claire patted his shoulder reassuringly. "Danny, I promise you no one is going to look at you and see anything but a pretty girl. Now put these on while I step out. Call me when you're done." Alone in the room, Danny took a deep breath and began to change. The feeling of the soft fabric against his newly smooth skin was strange but not unpleasant. As he slipped on the sandals, he marveled at how different his feet looked in the delicate shoes. "Okay, Claire," he called, his voice higher than usual with nervousness. "I'm ready." Claire burst back into the room, her eyes widening as she took in the sight of her transformed brother. "Oh my God," she breathed. "Danny, you look incredible." Slowly, Danny turned to face the full-length mirror on Claire's closet door. His jaw dropped. Staring back at him was not the awkward, gangly young man he was used to seeing, but a strikingly pretty girl with soft features and an air of shy vulnerability. "I can't believe it," he whispered, reaching out to touch the mirror as if to confirm the reality of his reflection. "Is that really me?" Claire nodded, her eyes shining with pride. "That's all you, little brother? Or should I say, little sister?" She grinned mischievously. "We should probably come up with a name for your alter ego." Danny thought for a moment, still captivated by his reflection. "How about Danielle?" "Danielle?" Claire repeated, testing the name. "I like it. It suits you." As the initial shock wore off, Danny, now Danielle, began to experiment with movement, watching in fascination as the girl in the mirror mimicked his actions. He took a few tentative steps in the sandals, wobbling slightly before finding his balance. "This is so weird," Danielle said, his voice soft with wonder. "I feel like I'm looking at a stranger, but it's still me in there somewhere." Claire nodded understandingly. "It's a pretty wild experience, huh? How do you feel?" Danielle paused, considering the question. "Honestly, a little scared, but also kind of excited. It's like I've stepped into someone else's life for a day." "That's the spirit!" Claire exclaimed, giving Danielle a gentle hug, careful not to smudge the makeup. "Now let's go show Tom. He's going to flip." The siblings made their way downstairs, Danielle moving carefully to avoid tripping in the unfamiliar shoes. They found Tom in the living room, engrossed in a video game. At the sound of their approach, he glanced up, his controller clattering to the floor as he caught sight of Danielle. "Holy cow!" Tom exclaimed, his eyes as wide as saucers. "Danny, is that you?" Danielle gave a small, self-conscious wave. "Hi, Tom. What do you think?" Tom circled around Danielle, examining the transformation from every angle. "This is insane," he said, shaking his head in disbelief. "You look exactly like a girl, like a really pretty girl. No offense," he added hastily. Danielle laughed, some of the tension easing from his shoulders. "None taken, I guess. So you think I can pull this off?" Tom nodded emphatically. Dudette, if I didn't know it was you, I'd never guess in a million years. This is going to be epic." As the excitement of the reveal wore off, reality began to set in. Danielle's stomach churned with a mixture of anticipation and dread. "Guys," he said, his voice quavering slightly, "what if something goes wrong? What if I slip up and everyone figures it out?" Claire placed a comforting hand on Danielle's arm. "Hey, don't worry. Tom and I will be right there with you the whole time. If anything starts to go sideways, we'll create a distraction and get you out of there. But I really don't think it'll come to that. You look amazing, and as long as you stay calm and confident, no one will suspect a thing." Tom chimed in. Yeah, and if anyone asks, we'll just say you're our cousin from out of town. Easy peasy. Danielle took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. Okay, I can do this. It's just for one night, right? Claire nodded encouragingly. Exactly. One night of adventure, and then things go back to normal. Now, let's get going before we're late. The trio piled into Claire's car, with Danielle taking extra care not to wrinkle his dress as he slid into the back seat. As they drove towards the mall, Danielle found himself observing the world through new eyes. He noticed the way other drivers glanced at the car, their gazes lingering a moment longer when they caught sight of him in the back seat. It was a strange, almost heady feeling. Being seen, truly seen, in a way he never had been before. So, Tom said, twisting around in the front seat to face Danielle. How's it feel to be a girl for a day? Danielle considered the question. It's different. I feel like I'm more aware of my body, you know? Like I'm conscious of how I'm sitting, how I'm moving, and people look at me differently. It's kind of unnerving, but also interesting. Claire nodded sagely. Welcome to the world of being a woman, little brother. It's a whole different ballgame. As they pulled into the mall parking lot, Danielle's nervousness returned full force. He tugged at the hem of his dress, suddenly feeling exposed. Guys, I don't know if I can do this, he whispered. Claire turned off the engine and twisted in her seat to face Danielle. Listen to me, she said, her voice firm but kind. You can absolutely do this. You look gorgeous, and more importantly, you look natural. Just be yourself. Well, a slightly more feminine version of yourself, and everything will be fine. Remember, confidence is key. Tom gave a thumbs up. Yeah, what she said. You've got this, Danielle. Taking a deep breath, Danielle nodded. Okay, let's do this. The three siblings stepped out of the car, with Claire and Tom flanking Danielle protectively as they made their way towards the mall entrance. Danielle focused on his steps, trying to emulate the easy grace he'd observed in Claire's walk. As they entered the bustling mall, Danielle felt as though every eye was upon him. He resisted the urge to hunch his shoulders, instead forcing himself to stand tall and keep his chin up. To his surprise, most people barely gave him a second glance, too absorbed in their own shopping and conversations to pay much attention to the trio. They made their way to the food court where Emily's party was set to begin. A group of giggling girls had already gathered around a table festooned with balloons and a glittery happy birthday banner. Danielle's heart raced as they approached, but Claire's steady presence at his side helped calm his nerves. Emily, a petite blonde with a dazzling smile, bounced up to greet them. Claire, Tom, I'm so glad you could make it. Her gaze fell on Danielle, curiosity sparking in her eyes. And who's this? Claire smoothly stepped in. Emily, this is our cousin Danielle. She's visiting from out of town, and we hope it's okay that we brought her along. Emily's smile widened. Of course! The more the merrier. It's great to meet you, Danielle. Danielle managed a shy smile, pitching his voice higher as he replied, Thanks for having me. Happy birthday. To Danielle's immense relief, Emily seemed to accept his presence without question. As they joined the group, Danielle found himself swept up in a whirlwind of introductions, birthday wishes, and excited chatter about the evening's plans. As the initial awkwardness faded, Danielle began to relax, even finding himself enjoying the camaraderie of the group. He listened attentively to discussions about fashion, music, and the latest celebrity gossip, occasionally offering tentative comments of his own. To his surprise, the other girls seemed to appreciate his input, often nodding in agreement or asking for his opinion. About an hour into the party, Emily clapped her hands for attention. Okay, ladies, time for the main event. We've got exclusive access to Glam and Glow for the next 2 hours. Who's ready for some serious pampering? A chorus of excited squeals erupted from the group. Danielle shot a panicked glance at Claire, who quickly leaned in to whisper, Relax, it's just a beauty salon. You'll be fine. As the group made their way towards the salon, Danielle's mind raced. He hadn't anticipated this part of the evening. What if the beauticians noticed something off about him? What if they wanted to do something that would reveal his secret? Claire, sensing her brother's distress, linked arms with him. "Hey," she said softly, "remember what I said about confidence? Just go with the flow. If anything makes you uncomfortable, just politely decline. No one will think twice about it." Danielle nodded, grateful for his sister's reassurance. As they entered the salon, he was struck by the luxurious atmosphere. Soft lighting, plush chairs, and the gentle scent of aromatherapy candles created an instant sense of relaxation. A stylish woman with a sleek bob and impeccable makeup greeted the group. "Welcome to Glam and Glow, ladies. I'm Melanie, and my team and I are here to make sure you all leave feeling like absolute goddesses. Who's ready for some pampering?" The girls cheered enthusiastically, and Danielle found himself caught up in the excitement despite his lingering nervousness. As they were led to individual stations, he was surprised to find that he was actually looking forward to the experience. Claire, seated next to him, gave his hand a reassuring squeeze. "Just enjoy it," she whispered. "How often do you get a chance like this?" A friendly-looking beautician approached Danielle's chair. "Hi there, I'm Zoe. What would you like to start with? We've got facials, manicures, hairstyling, you name it." Danielle hesitated for a moment before deciding to embrace the experience fully. "How about a facial?" he suggested, his voice still slightly higher than usual. Zoe beamed. "Excellent choice. Let's get you started with a deep cleanse, and then we'll see what your skin needs, okay?" As Zoe began to work, gently cleansing and exfoliating his skin, Danielle found himself relaxing into the chair. The sensation of being pampered was entirely new to him, and he was surprised to find how enjoyable it was. He closed his eyes, letting the stress and worry of maintaining his disguise melt away under Zoe's expert touch. "Your skin is gorgeous," Zoe commented as she applied a cooling mask. "What's your secret?" Danielle's eyes flew open, panic momentarily gripping him before he remembered Claire's advice about confidence. "Oh, he said with a small laugh. "Just good genes, I guess." Zoe chuckled. "Well, whatever you're doing, keep it up. Now, just relax for about 10 minutes while this mask does its magic, and then we'll move on to some light makeup. Sound good?" Danielle nodded, settling back into the chair. As he waited, he glanced around the salon, taking in the sight of the other girls chatting and laughing as they received various treatments. For a moment, he felt a twinge of envy. Was this what it was always like for them? This easy camaraderie? This world of shared experiences and understanding? Before he could dwell too long on these thoughts, Zoe returned to remove the mask. "Ready for some makeup?" she asked cheerfully. "Sure," Danielle replied, surprising himself with his eagerness. As Zoe worked, applying a light foundation, some blush, and a subtle eyeshadow, Danielle found himself fascinated by the process. He'd watched Claire do her makeup countless times, but experiencing it firsthand was entirely different. He marveled at the way each product seemed to enhance his features, bringing out aspects of his face he'd never really noticed before. "And for the finishing touch," Zoe said, holding up a tube of lip gloss. "How about a pop of color?" Danielle nodded, and Zoe carefully applied the glossy pink shade to his lips. "There," she said, holding up a mirror. "What do you think?" Danielle stared at his reflection, amazed at the transformation. The girl looking back at him was undeniably pretty, with a fresh, glowing complexion and sparkling eyes. For a moment, he almost didn't recognize himself. "It's beautiful," he said softly, touching his cheek in wonder. "Thank you, Zoe." Zoe beamed. "My pleasure. You're absolutely glowing. Now, would you like to try a manicure or perhaps some hairstyling?" Danielle glanced over at Claire, who gave him an encouraging nod. "You know what? A manicure sounds great," he said, surprising himself with his enthusiasm. As Zoe led him to the manicure station, Danielle caught sight of his reflection in one of the salon's many mirrors. The girl staring back at him seemed confident, happy, and completely at ease. For the first time since this crazy adventure began, Danielle felt like he truly embodied the character he was playing. Settling into the manicure chair, Danielle extended his hands, marveling at how different they looked without their usual calluses and rough edges. Zoe began to work, gently shaping his nails and pushing back his cuticles. "So, Danielle," Zoe said conversationally, "Claire mentioned you're visiting from out of town. How are you enjoying your stay so far?" Danielle felt a momentary flutter of panic, but quickly recovered. "Oh, it's been wonderful," he replied, his voice easy and natural. "Everyone's been so welcoming, and it's great to spend time with Claire and Tom." Zoe nodded, applying a base coat to Danielle's nails. "That's lovely. Family time is so important. Now, what color would you like for your nails? We have a great selection." Danielle scanned the rainbow of polish bottles before him, feeling a little overwhelmed by the choices. Maybe something subtle? I'm not used to wearing nail polish." "How about this soft pink?" Zoe suggested, holding up a bottle. "It's understated, but still feminine and pretty." "Perfect," Danielle agreed, watching in fascination as Zoe began to apply the delicate color to his nails. As she worked, Danielle found himself chatting easily with Zoe about all sorts of topics: the latest fashion trends, popular movies, even a bit of local gossip. It felt surreal, engaging in these traditionally girly conversations, but also strangely natural. He was surprised to find how much he was enjoying himself. "And there we go," Zoe announced, applying a final top coat. "What do you think?" Danielle admired his newly painted nails, marveling at how elegant his hands looked. "They're beautiful," he said softly. "Thank you so much, Zoe." "My pleasure, sweetie," Zoe replied with a warm smile. "Now, be careful not to smudge them for the next few minutes while they dry completely." As Danielle carefully made his way back to where Claire was getting her hair styled, he felt a newfound confidence in his movements. The pampering session had not only enhanced his disguise, but had also given him a deeper appreciation for the effort and artistry that went into traditionally feminine beauty routines. Claire's eyes widened as she took in her brother's transformed appearance. "Wow, Danielle," she said, a genuine note of admiration in her voice. "You look absolutely stunning." Danielle felt a blush creep across his cheeks. "Thanks," he murmured. "This has been quite an experience." As the party began to wind down, with girls comparing their new looks and swapping beauty tips, Danielle found himself feeling a complex mix of emotions. On one hand, he was relieved that the charade would soon be over, allowing him to return to his familiar, comfortable identity. On the other hand, a small part of him felt a twinge of sadness at the thought of leaving Danielle behind. Emily gathered the group for a final round of selfies and goodbyes. As Danielle posed with the others, smiling and laughing, he realized that he had genuinely enjoyed being part of this world, if only for a night. The camaraderie, the shared experiences, the freedom to express himself in new ways. It had all been unexpectedly rewarding. As they left the salon and made their way back to the car, Claire linked arms with Danielle. "So," she said softly, "how was it, really?" Danielle was quiet for a moment, considering. "It was eye-opening," he finally replied. "I never realized how much work goes into being a girl, but also how much fun it can be. The way people treated me, the conversations, the whole experience, it was so different from what I'm used to." Claire nodded understandingly. "It's a whole different world, isn't it? I'm proud of you for being brave enough to step into it, even if it was just for one night." As they reached the car, Tom piped up from the back seat. "So, Danielle, are you ready to go back to being boring old Danny?" Danielle chuckled, sliding into the passenger seat. "You know what? I think I'm ready to be Danny again. But I have to admit, being Danielle for a night was pretty amazing. We should do it again." Thanks for watching. The rest won't be viewable on YouTube, so check out Patreon if you want more.